Hi, within this lecture we're going to continue learning if statements, and we're going to see some tricks and new controls and checks that we can do with if. So what we did in the previous lecture was to say if x is greater than y, do this, if x is equal to y, do that, and else if nothing above is true, just do this. But can we do that only with integers or floats? Of course not. We can use strings like my superhero, for example, will be an input from the user. Okay? And like say superhero column, and we'll ask from user to state the superhero. So if they say like Batman in here, and we will check to see if we can get the superhero name. Like we can say if my superhero is actually equal to Batman, for instance. And with a colon, we can say print like Batman in here. So this is only an example, so you can just say whatever you want in here. Like if my superhero is not the Batman but actually Superman, then I'm going to print something else. And actually you can just adjust it for yourself as well. And if my superhero is Iron Man, then I'm going to print something else like Iron Man in here. And for the last time, let's say else. If none of the above is true, then I can say let's do a sad smiley in here. Okay, so if I hit shift enter, then it will say Batman because my superhero is actually Batman at this point. But let me give another input in here. So let's say Superman, and let's say Superman. Okay, so you can try this on your own, but it works perfectly with strings as well. Let's do something with my superhero is equal to Wonder Woman, for example, and say print Wonder Woman as well. So as we talked before, we can have as many conditions as we want in here. And else, if nothing holds, we can do or write whatever we want in here. If I say Aquaman, then none of the conditions will hold and we will get a sad smiley. And as you can imagine, we will use this a lot. We will use these if conditions, if statements a lot in programming when writing ethical hacking tools as well. And actually if controls, if statements, or if conditions are very important to any other programming languages as well. So let's suppose I want to add and or operators in my if statements. Let's do some variables for that to have an example. I believe we have to work with integers to make this clear because strings might get confusing in this case. So let's say A is 10 and B is 15. So let's create another called C, and this is 20. So I can say like this: if A is greater than B, or B is greater or less than C, let's say less than, and then I can print whatever I want. This doesn't make sense, but let's say Superman. Okay, and now is A greater than B? No, but B is less than C. So as you can see, one side of the equation holds, and this is OR, so it works. If let's say A is less than B and B is greater than C. Actually, I put an extra colon in here, so let me delete it. and this column is fine. So if I hit enter, it will be indented. So now A is less than 1 and this is true, but B is not greater than C, so this condition will not hold. And let's say Batman and hit shift enter, and we'll still get the Superman because the first condition actually holds. So you can actually add these OR and AND operators in if statements as well, and of course you can say else if none of the conditions above hold. Just print something like Aquaman, for instance. Okay, and this example doesn't make any sense, but I think you get the point in here. So what can we do more with if statements? For example, if we want to use booleans with if statements, can we do that? Of course we can, and they are perfect for if statements, and you'll see why in the last part. So like say is that is false, and false with a capital F, of course. Okay, so we have a boolean called is that, like a character in a game. So I want to check if my character is actually dead or not. So I can say if is that equals to false, then do this, print character is not dead at this moment. So character is not dead, and if I hit shift enter, then I'll get character is not dead. Or elif or else, let's say else because we only have two options in here, print character is dead or is alive. It's not dead, maybe you can write character is alive and print character is dead in the below part. So I can do that, and it works with booleans perfectly, right? But actually there is a greater way to do that, and this is if is that and column print character is dead. And why does this work? Why do we have this with booleans and we don't have this with like strings or numbers? So basically what we are doing here is to say that if x is greater than y. So if actually x is greater than y, then Python will consider this as a boolean. Like if x is greater than y, it will return true, right? So this is already true or false. So actually in this case I don't have to check if is that is false or true, because this is already a boolean. So we get a boolean in return with the controls with greater than, less than in the above examples, but we already have the result in here. So let's say if is that true, the character is that, else character is not that, to make this a little bit understandable. And now I can say if is that, print character is that, okay, and like else print character is not that or alive. So let me just work this, and it will give us character is not that. I hope you got the point. In the above examples, working with strings or numbers, we try to get the boolean out of that control, but this is already a boolean, so I can say if is that. This is like saying if it's true. So I can say if not is that, and say print character is not that. And remember, not just makes this thing negative, okay? So this is like if it's not that. I know this may sound vague to you right now, but don't worry, we will have much more examples when we deal with ethical hacking tools in the following lectures and sections. So let's stop here, and within the next lecture we will continue with the if controls one more time.